Hey, welcome to Money Mondays. It's Nakia. I am so excited that you guys are here. We're going to be talking about something that builds on what we talked about last week. We're going to be covering goal math this week. So come on in. We have about 2 minutes before we're going to get started. I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to hop on. When you get on, just say hi. Let me know that you're here. Get your pen and your pad because you will definitely want to take notes tonight. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. So let me see who I have on here. Hi, Erica. How are you? Erica's on. We're just going to give people a chance to get on. So we still have a few minutes before we start tonight, but we're going to give people a chance to get on. Okay. Oh, we're kind of early tonight. We have 2 minutes. Hey, Tiffany, how you doing? I know you're busy this week, so thank you for joining me. Tiffany is a amazing cake maker based out of St. Louis. When I tell you her cakes are delicious, they are delicious. So I know she's busy this week since Christmas is on Friday. So thank you for tuning in. We're going to give people about 1 more minute. Well, it's only 8:59, so we'll give them a minute to get on, and then we'll go ahead and get started, okay? You guys know I like to start on time because, it's time to wind down. It's Monday, start of the week, but I still want to give you some food for thought for today. So if you're just hopping on or you saw the post and you don't really know what goal math is, we're going to talk about that tonight. It's something that I teach all my students, but I'm going to share with you tonight, because that's what I do. I like to give you guys information, news you can use, as they say in the biz. I don't know. Okay, and make sure if you're just getting on, make sure that you have your pen and pad because you are going to want to take notes tonight. If you see me looking over here, it's because I also have my laptop set up behind my phone. So I'm going to be looking and taking notes. So give me a chance. Give me a second because, of course, it went down. Okay, clear this. I'm going to clear this. What time is it? Okay. It's 9 o'clock. I want to respect your time. Welcome to Money Mondays. I'm Nakia, as most of you know. And tonight we're going to talk about goal math. I have talked about and taught goal math, it seems like since forever, but it's not a difficult concept. It's not something that's hard to grasp. And we're going to cover exactly what it is tonight. We're going to cover how you can use it to reach the goals that you hopefully set last week. And we're going to talk about how you can use it to propel yourself forward and really get in the mindset of how millionaires think. Okay. So the first thing that we know already based on our Money Mondays is that millionaires think about the future, right? We know they have contingency plans. We know they think about the future. And tonight we're going to cover goal math. Okay. So what is goal math? You've probably used goal math before. You've probably heard of it. It's just another name for a way for you to reach your goals. So all goal math is a vehicle to help you meet your goals, okay? It helps you reach your goals as fast or as slow as you want to. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. So when we're setting goals, and we talked about our SMART goals last week, when we're setting goals, it's important to know, okay, now I have this goal, right? I want to save $1,000 in 3 months for my emergency savings, right? So it follows our SMART criteria. We learned that last week on Money Mondays. So how do I do that, right? How do I get there? Well, the way that you get there is the way that you eat an elephant, right? So have you ever heard the term, how do you need to eat an elephant? You eat it bite by bite. So that's what we're going to talk about with goal math, okay? Now, there's a formula that you can use to reach your goals, okay? So you have your goal and you have this lofty goal and maybe you don't know how you're going to get there, right? So maybe you're saying, okay, I want to be a homeowner in the next 3 to 5 years and I know I want to put down at least $30,000 for my house. That seems like an enormous goal. And so what we do when we use goal math is we take those goals that we made last week and we break them down. Okay, so instead of saying you have this huge thing that you want to do within 5 years and you don't really know how you're going to get there, you're going to use goal math to help you get there. Okay, so when you're thinking about goal math, there's a formula, as I said. What you want to do is you want to take the total amount that you need. Okay, so in this case, and I should have my calendar pulled up. So let me get my calendar, my calculator pulled up so I can give you accurate numbers and not lie to you tonight. Give me a second. Okay, so we're going to use our $30,000 example. Okay, as we said, so I want to save $30,000 in the next 5 years so that I can buy a house. So what you would do is you would take that $30,000 and you would divide it by the number of blank it takes till you reach your goal. Okay, so the number of blank can be years, it can be months, it can be pay periods, it can be weeks, it can be literally anything that you wanted to do. You have control over that denominator, over that bottom number. So let's say, for example, this person wants to buy a house. They need $30,000. They want to do it in 5 years. That means every year for the next 5 years, you only need to save $6,000. Okay, that's it. $6,000, that's more manageable than saying, oh, I need $30,000. You can stomach $6,000. Now let's think about if that person gets paid bi-weekly. So you would say, okay, I know I need to save $6,000 a year. That only equates to $230.76 a pay period if that person is paid bi-weekly, right? So you would take the $6,000, which would be on the top, and you would divide it by the number of pay periods, right? So 6,000 divided by 26, and that gives you the 230.76. Okay, that's gold math. Gold math is not, as I said earlier, it's not a hard concept. It's not a hard thing to grasp. What ruins people and what stops people is the execution. Okay, so what you're trying to figure out when you put your gold math number into your formula is how much you need to save every blank. So how much you need to save every pay period, how much you need to save every week, every month. You can put any blank you want in there. Even if you want to break it down by days. Okay, how much do I need to save per day? Let's say you are in a cash business. Let's say you're a barber and you work 6 days a week. You say, okay, I need to save $6,000 a year, right, for this house. So I know that it's 365 days out the year. So let's say you're not going to work all 365 days of the year. Nobody does that. So let's say you're going to work about 200 and let's say 300. I know 258 is the number of days I believe people work when you work a regular job. So let's say, okay, I'm going to work 300 days out the year. So that means I need to save $20 a day so that at the end of the year, I can have my $6,000 goals for this house. Okay, that's much simpler and that's easier to do when you break it down using gold math. It's not as lofty, it's not as unattainable because you're using gold math. Now, I told you that most people, what stops them and what ruins them is the execution. Okay, so there are some things that you have to do after you come up with your number. So after you put your numbers in the formula and you come up with the amount that you need to save every blank or the amount that you need to pay every blank, there's some things that you have to do. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to put that number into action. So ideally what you would want to do is add that number into your budget. Okay, so the written budget that you have, either written on a pen with a pen and piece of paper, on a calendar or an electronic version, you need to add that number to your budget. So let's say, for example, we're going back to our house example and you need to save $230.76 a pay period. You would take that $230.76 and you would put it right on your budget. And so you know in your mind, every pay period, $230. That's it. I don't have no questions. I'm not trying to figure nothing out. I'm on track. That's what I need to save every pay period, right? So that's the first thing, is the execution. The next thing that ruins people is the tracking. Okay, so when you have any type of goal, you have to be able to track it, right? That's M. It has to be measurable. You can't hit a target that you can't see. So if you have this goal and you're not tracking it, you don't know where you stand, right? Have you ever talked to somebody and you ask them something like, well, how much were your tickets? Like maybe somebody, they're a reckless driver and they get a lot of tickets. Well, how much were your tickets? I don't know, right? Because they're not tracking it. So they would have no way of knowing. So what you need to be able to do when you have this goal and you're using goal math is go exactly to the place where you've been tracking it and say, okay, based on the numbers that I've put in, based on how much debt I've paid, I know that I should be at this point. Okay. So if it's 6 months into the year and you should have saved at least $3,000 for the down payment for your house for this year, and you're tracking it and you know that you're only at $2,000, you know that there's a discrepancy somewhere, right? You know, somewhere within that 6 months, you missed the mark and you're going to have to make it up. So you have to track it so that you can plan on what you need to do next. If you're on track and you're tracking it, then you don't have to do anything because you're good to go. But if you're not on track, then you have to figure out, okay, where can I make this money up? What do I need to do? And how am I going to get this done? So maybe that looks like, instead of saving $3,000 for the next 6 months, you actually save $4,000 for the next 6 months because you were slipping, right? And then you would put your numbers into the goal math formula and calculate those numbers. What does that look like? Okay, so I know I was slipping. I know I need to save $4,000 now. Let's say that, give me a second. I drew a blank. Let me do some typing on my computer. Let's say that we're 6 months into the year. We're 6 months into the year. I had to put 26 in the calculator. That's why I look like that, because my mind is racing, so I had to do it. Okay, so anyway, back to our example. You've been slacking. You need to make it up. You're going to say, okay, instead of saving $3,000 for the next 6 months, I know I need to save $4,000. So you would take $4,000, you would divide it by 13, because those are the pay periods left in the year. And you would say, okay, instead of my $230.76, now I need to save at least $307.69 for the next 6 months. Okay, and that's absolutely something you can do. You can take that and reapply that to anything that you want to do. So when I created the event, I told you guys, this is the formula I used when I was trying to buy my first house back in 2009. So this was over 10 years ago, 12 years ago, I think. Yeah, I used it then. When my husband and I were paying off our debt, we used goal math. So if you don't know this, previously in October, we hit over $88,000 in consumer debt that we had paid off in 22 months. So that was cars, credit cards, student loans, personal loans, and just a lot of other debt that we had paid off. And we paid it off using goal math. Right now we're in the process of buying another home. So we're going to be buying a home here in Dallas, and we're using goal math to say, okay, we know that we want to close next spring, right? So what is it that we need to do now to make up for any deficit that we have, and how much do we need to save each pay period so we can make sure that we're hitting that mark? So that's how you use goal math. But goal math without tracking and goal math without tracking, what was the second thing I said? I am drawing a blank. Without tracking it and without executing it is worthless. I mean, you might as well not even do it. It doesn't do you any good to know the number that you need to hit every day or every pay period, or every week or every month, so you can reach this goal if you're not executing it, if you're not doing it, and you're not being consistent, and if you're not tracking it so you know where you stand. Okay, so we also use, okay, I'm going to read Jade's comment. Jade said, you may have said this before, but did you pay off your total debt using goal math, or did you take it debt by debt? So when we paid off our debts, we did the snowball method. So there are two, this is kind of something different, but I'm going to answer Jade's question because we're all here tonight and this is why we're here. There are two major ways that people, well, let's take three. There are three major ways that people pay off debt. The first way is the snowball method. So you pay off the debts with the height. I swear to God, I know stuff. You pay off your debts with the lowest balance, right? So if you have 5 credit cards, one for $1,000, the second one for $2,000, third for $3,000, fourth for $4,000, and the fifth for $5,000, you would start with your credit card that is owed $1,000, right? And so you would hurry up and pay that off. You would push everything that you have towards that amount. And then once you have that $1,000 credit card paid off, then you would move to the next credit card. And so now we're on $2,000. So we're taking the payments that we made for $1,000, we're rolling that into $2,000. And so we're throwing everything we have at $2,000. So that's the debt snowball. The second method that people use to pay off their debt is the debt avalanche, and that's where you pay off your debt with the highest interest. This is a little more difficult to do because you don't have the many milestones, but basically if you have those same 5 credit cards, one credit card has a 0 interest, this credit card has a 1% interest, 2%, 3%, 4%, you would start paying off that 4% interest no matter what the balance is. So that's the second way. And then the third way is a combination. So some people, you know, they like to mix it up. So they do a combination of the debt snowball and the debt avalanche, and they just figure out what they want to pay out first. So let's say you have a student loan and they are on your last nerves. That kind of happened with my husband. He was done. Okay, he was done with them. So he paid them off, just went ahead and paid them off, and that was it. But it didn't fall within our debt snowball. And so that's what we did. And so what we sat down and did when we were looking at this was, okay, in my mind, I knew we wanted to be debt free within 5 years, right? So I said, okay, I want to be debt free in 5 years. If you want to be debt free in 5 years, that means you need to pay X every month. And all I did was put those numbers into our goal map formula, and that's how I came up with the number that we needed to pay each month. Now that was the minimum. So it was like, okay, let's say, I don't even remember what the number was. Let's say the number was $4,000. You need to pay $4,000 every month. That's the base, right, that you need to pay. You can always pay more than that. You can always save more than that. But if you're trying to be on track with your goal map, that's the bottom of the bottom that you need to pay. So that's what we did, Jay. Let me know if that didn't answer your question. Yes, so that's what we did. Now, when you're using goal math, I told you, your husband sounds like a brilliant guy. He most certainly is, Squeaky Carter. When you're using goal math, you're taking the number that you have, right? So maybe it's the number that you need to save. Maybe it's the number that you need to pay. And you're dividing it by the number of blank that you want to get there, right? To get a number. Now, you can get that number, but you can always pay more than that number, okay? You never want to, you want to not, try not to pay less than that number. So let's go back to our house example, and you need to pay, you need to save $6,000 a year for your house in 5 years. So you can have a $30,000 down payment. So, you know, every pay period, you need to do what? You need to save at least $230.73. So that's the base. You never want to go lower than that. But let's say you get a bonus at work. You say, okay, cool, I got a $2,000 bonus. So I want to take $1,000 and move that to my down payment fund. You can absolutely do that, right? So instead of paying $230.76 this pay period, you pay $1,230.76. And that's how you will work that. So that's what you can do. It doesn't have to be a set number, but it definitely has to be a base number. You can always go above that, but you never want to go below. Okay? Does that make sense? If that does not make sense, let me know in the comments, and then I can kind of try to clarify for you all. So let's talk about how you incorporate goal math. Perfect. Okay, good. Let's talk about how you incorporate goal math. As I said, you want to take that number, right, that you have calculated to figure out how much do I need to save, pay, blank, every blank, right? Whatever it is you're trying to do. If you're trying to save for something, if you're trying to pay off something, what is my number that I need to save or pay every blank? And you want to incorporate that into your budget. Tracking it is paramount. You cannot, I mean, you have to track it. You would never say, okay, I want to lose weight. And somebody says, okay, what's your starting weight? And you're like, I don't know. What? Okay, well, what weight are you now? Oh, I don't know. You wouldn't do that. So you have to track it. And I prefer to track it very regularly. So I'm very neurotic. I look at my budget every single day. Okay. Maybe you're not like me. Maybe you can only do once a week. That's fine. Maybe you can only do once a pay period. That's fine. But you have to track it regularly so that if you do get off track, you have enough time to make up for it. The last thing that you want to do is say, okay, I need $6,000 this year, and it's November, and you just now trying to add up how much you have, or you just now tracking it, and then you realize, oh, I only have $1,000. That's not going to work. So tracking it is paramount. Now, what you can do once you have your number is put that amount into your savings account. So most people these days have direct deposit, right? So you're not really getting paper checks too much. Some people do, but most people have direct deposit. So if you have a goal that you're trying to reach, and you know that you need to save $230.76 every pay period, transfer that money straight to a separate account. It needs to be an account that, for me, Okay, this is what works for me. Maybe you're different, I don't know. But what works for me is having a separate account that's strictly a savings account. I don't have a debit card for that account. I have a ATM card where I can put money in and take money out, but I can't use it at a store. So it has to be money that is separate. You want to limit your access to those funds, right? It should not be something that you keep at your main bank, because what's going to happen? You're going to get in a jam. You know, maybe you want a fresh pair of Nikes. I don't know. Maybe you need something for your car. I don't know. But it will be easier to tap into that money if you have more access to it. Track. Make sure you're tracking it so you can know where you stand. So you can know, okay, am I lightweight or am I a heavyweight? What's going on? Do I have 6,000? Do I have 1,000? Do I have $5? You need to know what's going on demand. Okay, even if you don't have the number, even if you don't know the number up here, you need to be able to go somewhere and figure out what it is within 5 minutes. So that's why you need to track it. Now, when you're thinking about goal math, the less pay periods or the less time that it takes that you want to reach that goal, the faster you'll go. Okay, so if we're thinking about our $30,000 down payment example, let's say that instead of doing it in 5 years, we say, okay, I want to do it in 2.5. Okay, so let me plug that into my calculator. So that means that give me a second. I want to make sure I tell you guys the truth and not a lie. I'm just clicking away. If you have any questions, take this opportunity to pop them in the chat for me. And I can answer those for you. Okay, so let's say that you want to pay, you want to save this down payment in 2.5 years. That's 30 months. Okay, so you know that, okay, I know I want to buy a house in the next 2.5 years. I know I want to have $30,000 for my down payment, or $30,000 so I can buy new furniture. I can upgrade. I can do whatever it is I need to do that pertains to this house. That means that you need to save $1,000 a month. Okay, that's not hard to do. That's only, I can't do math tonight. That's only $250 a week. So what you basically have to ask yourself, okay, is I know I want to get there fast. I know I want to be a homeowner in 2.5 years. What can I give up every month that's going to equal $250? Right? Maybe it's eating lunch, like going to lunch. You don't, I think the pandemic has really exposed how much, I can only speak for myself, how much I used to eat out. I mean, do you know how to cook? Like, why are you eating out so much? That it exposes you. So what can you give up that's going to help you save $250 a week? That's it. So when you're doing goal math, put your mindset in the mind frame that I'm eating this elephant bit by bit. And that's how you're going to reach your goals. The formula is easy. Figuring out the numbers is easy. It's all easy, right? But what's gonna make the difference for you is the execution. Are you actually saving this money? Are you actually paying these things off? Are you actually being consistent? Like, you can't do it once and then that's it, and then tracking it. So where are you standing? How much have you paid off so far? How much have you saved so far? How much has that money grown for you so far? Tracking it. And that's it. Let me make sure I covered everything. I think I did. I do not see any more questions. We ran kind of long tonight, but that's good. So what you need to do is, we did goals last week. So you were supposed to write your goals for the new year, your short-term and your long-term goals. We talked about that. I think we talked about that last week. My weeks are running together, but we've talked about that. So now you need to use goal math to figure out what amount you need to save or pay every blank to help you reach your goal. And that's it. If you follow goal math, I'm telling you, you can do anything you want to do. When we were moving to Dallas, we decided we were moving in March, at the end of March. And by August 1st, we were gone. So we saved, I'm looking at it here, $5,300 for our move in 5 months. And so you can do anything with goal math. All you have to do is execute, track, and figure out what number that you need to do blank. So that's it. I don't think you all have any questions. I don't see any. So that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you for watching. use your goal math. Goal math is what's going to transform you and put you in that millionaire mindset to get to where you want to go. And you can, it doesn't necessarily have to be for houses. It doesn't have to be for debt. You can do it for anything you want to do. If you want to buy a franchise, you say, okay, I want to buy a Chick-fil-A. You can do that. Use goal math. If you say, okay, I want to buy some land for my family so I can build my house. Use goal math. You can do that even if you sit on the land, you can still do it. So just use your goal math. Okay, you guys have a great night. I am not going to talk to you before Christmas. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. My PSA from Thanksgiving still stands. If you have not heard, the coronavirus has mutated over in the UK. It's a virus, so it's going to mutate many times over, which means that they don't know how to treat this new strain, basically. So if you want to breathe great like this, stay at home. Merry Christmas. I'll probably talk to you next week. But Happy New Year. Use goal math. Next week, I'm going to be posting the topic and what we're going to talk about. I'm thinking about vision boards, so we'll be playing around with that. I hope you guys have a great Christmas. Love your family from a distance. Thanks for tuning in for Money Mondays, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.